Hello and welcome to PCM's Webinar Tuesday. We are thrilled to have you with us today for our Microsoft BI Envisioning Session. Joining us today is Milind Shah.
Hello everyone, my name is Milind Shah and I lead the business intelligence practice here at PCM. Hopefully everybody can see the screen. PCM would like to assist your organization through this unbiased, unfiltered, and comprehensive business intelligence envisioning session. The recording is a high-level overview to give you an idea of what to expect when you sign up for our session. Please take advantage of this opportunity and complete the form online to register and schedule an in-depth BI envisioning session. The in-depth session is free and designed to answer some key questions organizations have about their business intelligence and data management programs. How does my environment compare to the other companies? What steps should I be taking to progress my analytics platform? Does your current environment meet your current and future needs? These are just some of the key questions we're going to try and focus on in these sessions. Let's start with why BI. Why is it important? Business intelligence is a concept that usually involves the delivery and the integration of relevant and useful business information in an organization. Companies use BI to detect significant events and monitor maybe business trends in order to adapt quickly to their changing environments and scenario. If you use effective BI training in your organization, you can improve the decision-making process at all levels of management and improve your tactical strategic management processes as well. So regardless of whatever you run an already or successful business or a young upstart getting started in your mother's basement, you need the ability to make informed decisions through proper data analysis. There are so many important parts to a business, and even though some parts appear to be free-floating appendages on the hypothetical company torso, even part does tie into other parts. It's understanding these subtle connections that could make the difference between a company that excels to the top of the market and one that barely makes it out of the gate. By using business intelligence programs, a company can more easily keep track of its number and use them to their advantage. Maturing your BI program is an iterative process. You start with identification of what is it that the business needs. We start with planning on how to get those needs identified, information gathering, processing that information and collecting it, and then finally analyzing and then disseminating that information to the right people. Let's go through an example, as this could be a little bit complex. For most recently, in a school campus running a bus shuttle service, we were asked a question by the customer: how do we increase the consumption of our bus services, shuttle services on campus? Now, mind you, this bus shuttle service program is part of the campus program, and there were questions about how well it's being utilized by the people attending the campus or living on campus. To answer that initial question, we had some follow-on questions like, well, who are the folks that today use your bus shuttle services? How do they use it? What are the peak times and what are the non-peak times? None of these questions that the customer had any answers to. So we use an iterative process to identify basic questions that build up into the larger question on hand. For example, we had to identify who the people were, what was the demographic that was already using the bus service, compare that to the full demographic that makes up the campus population, and deduct from there as to who is not using these services. So the first iteration was, who uses the services today? The second iteration, once we got that answer, well, when do they use it and why do they not use it? All those iterations rolled into the final question that the customer was trying to answer: how can they increase their services consumption with the campus folks? To end it all, to kind of summarize a 3-day process that we were able to kind of identify the information for the customer, it turned out to be that the largest demographic on campus was the millennials under the ages of 25 who were not using the bus service, whereas all graduate students above the age of 25, faculty, and other campus employees were the main users of their shuttle services. The drivers in business initiatives are sometimes different, and when the questions asked will change the outcome for the next iteration that needs to come. Hence, a competitive intelligence cycle building process is key to a very successful BI strategy and program. Some main reasons to have a good BI strategy is to gain insights into consumer behavior, improve visibility, turn data into actionable information, improve your efficiency, gain sales and market intelligence, and lastly, be competitive in this space. The conclusion here is in order to reap all the benefits of an effective BI system and strategy of your company, we recommend that you invest in skilled BI personnel as well as training and software designed for analytical efficiency and accessibility. You should also make sure that the system and strategy you choose can analyze both the content and the context of data. If you require any of these trainings or consulting services in BI, PCM is here to help. We've all seen this business intelligence maturity models. If you Google these images, there's tons and tons of these models out there. So let's talk a little bit about what these models are, how they help customers identify where they are in the BI space in terms of maturity. PCM is a big believer in knowledge being power. Knowledge is power, but only to the extent that it's actionable. Billions of dollars are invested every year in a BI and in analytics, but what is the actual ROI that organizations receive from this investment? Few would argue that investing in a business analytics is a bad idea. But with that 26% user adoption rate of BI solutions according to Gartner Group, organization can't be getting all that they paid for. So what's going on here? And this session is designed for PCM to help their customers understand that ROI using two major focus areas, the organizational maturity and the ability to act and affect the change. I recently attended the 2017 PASS Business Analytics Conference, and I sat on a strategy session presented by a gentleman named Rick Grantham. Look this guy's up. He's a great guy, and he has a lot of knowledge around this environment. Thanks, Rick, for this info. In his presentation, Rick referenced the Data Warehouse Institute's BI maturity model, which I'm showing here on the screen right now. Full disclosure here, I tend to somewhat be skeptical when it comes to maturity models. That said, I've seen time and time again how well these BI maturity models fit with what we observe with our clients. So our goal with this envisioning session is to do a couple of things with this maturity model. The number one rule in these maturity models is that these maturity models, although they show that customers fit into one specific vertical, in this case, a prenatal, an infant, a child, teenager, adult, and so on and so forth. What we found is that the programs are much more complex in nature. Mixture of hardware, software, skills, tools, and understanding makes the program very complex to dissect. Each of these areas falls under an IT and a business initiative, which creates a unique blend of requirements to make a BI program more successful. Or more specifically for your company and its culture, be more tuned to both of those needs. We feel that having the right mix of hardware, software, skills, and tools will increase the productivity of your BI program, and that is the goal of this session. If you already have a BI program with a brief survey prior to setting up one of these sessions, we can help identify gaps where this program is not at the same level as others. Our goal is to customize each one of these sessions to focus on learning your existing ecosystem of hardware, software, tools, and skills to help us understand four major perspectives of your organization. The first one is an organizational perspective, where we understand the culture and the drivers of the program. The second one being a user perspective, where we understand the user perspective who are using the existing BI solutions or have a desire to gain a new one. Third perspective is technical in nature, and typically industry-specific technology products and tools that are typically used to deliver the BI program from a technical solutioning perspective. And lastly, a data perspective. Data models, functional flow, data ownership and identification, data integration, governance, stewardship, I can go on and on. These are all areas of data related that has a totally different perspective. Each of these perspectives are usually ran in organizations either between IT and business, and very few have true true uh, true mixture of the two coming to the table to design your successful BI program. PCM is looking to focus this session to allow those two groups to blend well together and address each of these perspectives, not individually, but holistically. Let's show you what I mean by the BI maturity model and how it's viewed and how we change the way we are using these maturity models compared to the other companies out there. What we're doing differently in this traditional BI maturity model is we find that the maturity model to be useful representation of organizations progress along the continuum of increasing capabilities. From this, Model 1 can spin a lot of stories about the challenges we all experience building business analytics capabilities. The simple truth I find is that if an organization is misaligned, user needs or not in sync with an IT implementation, the result will be low user adoption and therefore a low ROI. A common example that you see here on the screen is that IT has implemented a data warehouse complete with reporting capabilities, dashboards, KPIs, the whole kitchen sink. But users, the business users who are using these tools are still living in the Excel world and operational system reporting. So the issue here is not that the customer falls into one specific vertical, but the customers, what we find, are in all the verticals at different levels. And the addressing of the gaps is not that how to move from prenatal to infant to child to teenager, but how to align the types of systems, the types of tools, the architecture, and the business needs horizontally across the board, and then plan on moving vertically sideways and increasing the BI maturity. PCM through this session will identify these mismatches, help our customers align their people, their skills, their technology, and business outcomes together. Ability to act and affect change. This is a second large portion of BI programs that most of our clients fail to miss because they just get too stuck in designing the technology side of the house. Certainly the first priority of business analytics is to provide visibility of business results by exposing the data in meaningful ways. However, mere visibility does nothing to change what happens in the business going forward. This is where it gets interesting. Are we asking the right questions? Are we producing the right KPIs and measurements? How do we decide on priorities, and how do our priorities align with our key strategies? I'm a big proponent of the top-down approach, where KPIs are driven from strategies, consequences, and action plans. This illustration is a good rendition of a top-down approach. PCM follows this strategy as part of this session to understand what type of KPIs really need to be measured, which are the seed of your BI program initiative. ROI from business analytics is maximized when the user capabilities are aligned with system capabilities. Low user adoption is a key indicator of how we are doing on this front. How we achieve this alignment depends on many things, both cultural and practical. If the organizations are not affecting future performance from the information they're surfacing from their business analytics efforts, it's time to understand where the gaps exist. PCM's top-down approach to define the correct KPIs to be identified is 50% of the work where it comes to ensuring the CIC is embarking on the right initiative. And what I mean by CIC is a competition intelligence cycle, which is an iterative process that we've discussed before. PCM is a unique blend of resources that have been performing IT services in this industry for 30 plus years. We have about 20 years of experiences in IT services specifically to almost every technology in the marketplace over the last 20 years. We feel that PCM offers a unique blend of these resources with services experience in hardware, software, tools, and technical skills. But the true X factor PCM has to provide in the BI space for these type of sessions and all of our BI services is the skill that we have around business strategy. When we wrap our technical resources with a business strategy resource, we're able to complete the picture that most clients aren't able to solve themselves. A true centrally incentivized BI initiative between the business and IT, and the clarity that both own equal stakes in the initiative, is paramount to the success of this program. PCM's unique resources with business and IT experience will provide not just a technical and a financial support when making decisions for the BI program, but most importantly the strategy and bring IT and business to the same table and design the program together makes us a unique and specialized in this field. The purpose of this envisioning session is to provide knowledge transfer of PCM's maturity and methodology in BI services and helping our customers expedite the way in which they achieve the ultimate business value through business intelligence. As time goes by, the complexity of data analysis is increasing. This chart shows that the journey of BI maturity is slow and there are no shortcuts. All organizations must start by developing the descriptive analytics as its first phase of BI programs. You're really asking the question, what happened? Something that's happened in the past. Eventually moving your maturity level to diagnostic capabilities, where why did it happen, as in root cause analysis. Moving down, predictive, and so you're getting ahead of the game and are able to imagine and predict what's going to be the business outcome and have a plan, hopefully a decision for it. And eventually moving to more prescriptive analytics, which is what should you do in what specific situations, which even supersedes predictive analytics. Each level of analytics decreases the number of amount of human input that is involved in the process, helps automate the business strategy decision making to be even faster. Maturity levels of assessments taken in 2017 are slightly lower than assessments in 2016 from our overall count. Most organizations are not ready for the complexity of the organizational, business, and technical challenges ahead. The expanding integration and intersection of data and analytics means that many organizations need to revisit, rethink, and re-engineer their capabilities. This is due to the broad range and variety of data and analytics now required. We've all seen this model as well that was presented by Gartner at a couple of years at the last Gartner Symposium around BI. This sheet does not really show any kind of measurable, actionable number to help a company identify itself and where it belongs and which level it belongs. So we've designed a very unique IT score sheet that helps our customers understand at which level of unawareness, at which level of opportunity and standards and enterprise and transformative BI program does the customer fall under. The majority of the organizations that are investing in analytics are still grouped at a lower level of maturity. They're often struggling with the basics of integrating data and analytics and overcoming or avoiding altogether the associated organizational economics and process change traps. Future trends such as those described in Gartner's tech hype cycles and predictive notes means that it will become more complex as further combinations of data and analytics use cases are called for. This table provides a summary of maturity levels by different factors that influence maturity. The overall BI industry shows a maturity level of 2.7, with 1 being the lowest level and 5 being the highest. The reality is that the organizations are not operationally more mature or efficient today in their use of information and analytics compared to a couple of years ago when the IT Score survey was first launched. However, it's clear that a lot has changed in the use and demands of the information and analytics in the digital business world. The pressure continues to build as IT tries to evolve from being technologically driven to focusing on user enablement and decision actions. At the same time, business users are increasingly tech savvy and demanding more from IT. PCM is helping their customers bridge this gap by educating and leveraging our envisioning sessions to do so. This is just an example of some of the data sources that PCM is insourcing and buying and running on their own platforms today. Our sessions are backed by market research, by market data that we buy and that we analyze and help understand industry-level consumption of tools, technologies, and what they're doing in the BI space. It is critical that after this session, our customers have a good understanding of where they are in the industry landscape when it comes to BI. This is a maturity industry and level chart that shows, industry level numbers on who is affecting what level of respondents that we've run these through and what levels of maturity they fall under. Compare your maturity first with those in your industry, then look to more maturity industries for inspiration and modeling the best practices. Improvements in process made the biggest difference between levels of maturity today. Most information and analytics budgets and initiatives are focused primarily on technology improvements for descriptive and diagnostic analytics. Most need a serious upgrade of their data and analytics strategy to include the changes that are happening now and tomorrow. However, organizations that show higher levels of maturity typically score highest on the process improvement side, such as better integration, alignment across processes, changes across the components, there's a Gartner framework that associates with that. Leaders of BI and analytics initiatives should prioritize investments in change management and organizational changes before making investments or improvements in the platform. The ability to use process and people to drive larger system changes and process improvements will have an impact on and be required for achieving the higher levels of maturity. So our approach is simple. It's 5 major steps. We start with our customer completing an initial form that discusses at a high level your environment, your ecosystem, your existing BI environment if you have one, or if you don't have one, what are your desires to create one. That gives us the initial input to agree upon a date and a time that we can set up the session remotely or in person. During this session, the Q&A will continue to explore the areas of the 4 major perspectives we talked about: the user, the technology, the organizational, and the data. During this session, we will be completing the IT scorecard that will resemble and help us understand your scores according to this chart with numbers like these to understand where the different people are and what their scores are on the different levels. Identifying the gaps will be the 4th initiative of the session, which will typically happen after the Q&A session about a week's time. It will give us a week to take the company information from the scorecard, translate that into a baseline, and look at it and compare it to the industry that your organization falls under. If you're an education organization, we would run these analytics across other educational companies and what type of BI programs and tools they're using and why they're using them and how do you guys compare to that. Lastly, to follow-up meeting to discuss those potential gaps and help you understand how to resolve them. So a complete session would really include these 4 perspectives, and every iteration within those perspectives is a type of an interview that helps us understand each of those perspectives individually. There's a lot of customers that have typically selected only one perspective, as it is depending on the size of the organization and how big that user group is, the complexity of the data and analytics that are already available to your existing client base today, or if you're a smaller organization with 100 to 200 seats of users and are new to the BI program, we can eventually include all 4 perspectives in our envisioning sessions. Each perspective will provide a level of input that gives us a full view of what the customer's culture, financials, projects relating analytics, and integration to end-to-end user compatibility is going to be like. Each perspective gives us a different view of the tech, the tools, the skills, and above all, the company culture. These 4 major pillars, although are focused individually on their own tasks, have a profound impact on all the other pillars if the vision is not clearly articulated and centrally incentivized. What do I mean by centrally incentivizing your vision? In order to get business and IT to truly work harmoniously together, they both need to understand what are they all driving towards. An example with a recent customer. IT was incentivized on getting the infrastructure for a big data platform up and running by May 1st. In parallel, the business group was incentivized to come up with as many use cases for the big data platform that's going to be released by IT to them by May 1st. When May 1st arrived and both parties had achieved their individual goals and had received kudos for getting it done, the end result was far from being complete. The big data platform was designed for batch processing, which is the most likely use case that IT designed the system for. They were never provided the input as to what type of use cases will they be actually using the environment for. Business, on the other hand, instead of coming up with use cases that could have used batch processing capabilities, ended up looking at stream analytics instead, which had a high demand on analyzing data on the fly. It's kind of comparing a Ferrari to a school bus. IT built a school bus to allow the largest amount of data to be transported in a single shot, whereas business needed a Ferrari to drive small amounts of data at a very high speed. The difference was that the same parts and components and tools and the hardware and software could be used to redefine the bus into a Ferrari and vice versa. But what was lost is the communication between the two, and the scenario rendered itself where the next few months were defined by IT focusing on re-spending money on redesigning their solution to meet the business needs. We see this all the time, and we're trying to prevent these type of mistakes for our customers from happening in the future. Our goal through this session is to help our customers avoid such scenarios. And the next few slides, although are blank, will kind of give you an idea of what type of information will be customized for our own envisioning sessions. The user, the organizational, the technical, and the data perspective slides each break down into painful detail around what the organization is consuming, how they are relevant in the marketplace today from a tools, skills, and people perspective, where are the gaps, and how can we address them. That's all for my envisioning session at a high-level overview. Hopefully you guys have an idea on what the envisioning session entails. It is free of cost. You can register online at the PCM website and can assign a resource within 48 hours to get back to you guys and schedule this envisioning session for you. Thank you very much and have a great day.